Hello and welcome to Talk a Good Game, the last one before Christmas obviously. It's a match preview of Crystal Palace against West Ham United, the Boxing Day fixture from Selhurst Park. With me I have Charlie, a different looking Charlie. Can I get your thoughts on the Eagles please?
Yeah, they are exactly what you expect them to be. They've had a sort of season which I think is either just as good as you would have thought. If not, I think they were doing all right, actually, to be fair, maybe even slightly better if you look at their position, although the table's obviously quite squashed. They're all right. They're a decent functional team. They've got a couple of good players. They have one obviously great player, and I like their manager. I'd never have him at West Ham, but I do like him a lot. Yeah, they're a fine football team, aren't they?
This preview is sponsored by OneFootball, the OneFootball app. It's completely free. Go get it. Go get the OneFootball app. Just before kick-off on Boxing Day, you'll get the team news direct to your phone on the notification. Swipe it there. Happy days. Easy. The easiest way to keep up to date with all your West Ham or Crystal Palace news. If you're tuning in, you're an opposition fan. Link is in the description. Get it downloaded. Palace is a funny one for me, Charlie. I thought they'd been a relegation battle this season. When we did the preview of the last one, this is the first team we've played the second game of this so far this season, isn't it? We've not played anyone else twice yet, have we?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So when we played them the first time, I said, I was surprised how well they were doing, and since then they've started to drop a little bit, but that's only been in the last month or so. They've got a few injury problems at the back, and the league's just Crystal Palace just shows you how bonkers this league is a little bit, because if they beat us on Boxing Day, they go like near enough fifth or something, but if we beat them, we got a point behind them. The league is just completely strange. It really is, and I think Crystal Palace is a sort of an example of that, how tight the margins are, because if they lose 2 or 3 games, they're all of a sudden looking over their shoulder at relegation after being fifth. I think when we played them last time, I think they won and went fifth or something. Do you think they'll be safe this season?
Yeah, I do. I think even if they didn't have that great start, I probably would have. Roy Hodgson drills his teams very well. They're very organised and very sorted. I think when you look at the other teams around them that you would consider candidates to go down, I would have still put them ahead of them. I would have thought they would have survived, but given their, as you say, their good start, considering, I think they're more than safe. I don't think they should be even considered worrying about that, to be honest with you.
I think they should worry about it a little bit, but only because how strange the league is at the minute. It's not necessarily a reflection of them. I do think there are a couple of bad results away from falling in there, but that can be applied to anyone outside any 15 teams in the Premier League at the minute. They're a bit toothless up front, though. I think they've scored 2 in the last 4. It's not really. I watched the game against Brighton, and I wasn't really impressed by much they did, and they looked quite easy for Brighton to play against, although they kept Brighton at arm's length for a long period. Then Zaha sort of done a fine individual goal to get them the point and stuff. So they're a really strange side. They're a really strange team. Players you admire, because the Palace is always. I mean, there's one great big obvious one, but apart from that,
Christian Benteke. No, I like. Do you know? I said this last time, and I know you'll disagree with me. I do like Jordan Ayew. I don't think he's a great striker by any stretch of the imagination, but for what they paid for him and for the role he plays and for the level that they're at, I think he is all right. I think he gets more goals than someone who is terrible would get, if I'm being honest. But outside of that, the obvious one, obviously, Zaha, very good, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I like Van Aanholt mainly because he's just so fast and he's a good threat going forward. I'm slightly terrified of that. If I'm being honest, just him and Zaha together, it seems like such a bad idea for us, but there we go. I have a soft spot for Jeffrey Schlupp as well. Not just because I think he's all right, but also because he's just got an excellent name. Jeffrey Schlupp is a brilliant name. Ever since I saw him at Leicester, I was like, I want that boy to just go as far as possible, just so I can hear it more often. And then, yeah, that's it really. James Tompkins, obviously, soft spot for him as well, I guess.
Yeah, Tompkins has done really well for them, really. He's been a really good signing for them in recent years. I think MacArthur is decent in there. Their captain, Milojevic, or how you pronounce his name, I don't know how you pronounce his name. He's one of the best in that. in the Premier League. He's one of the best at that role. When he doesn't play, you can tell what he brings to the team. He's one of those players that you need to be missing to realise what he brings, if that makes sense. He does a lot of the underrated work, the engine, if you like, and their keeper as well. I want to speak about him in a second. I'm still waiting for Connor Wickham to come good, by the way. I liked him years ago at Sunderland. I'm still waiting for him to hit the dizzy heights of Palace. But you're right, I don't like Jordan Ayew. I think if Palace had Danny Ings... Listen, Danny Ings is in good scoring form, right?
I like Danny Ings. Right. You're not the only one. I like him. I just find it hilarious that you say if they had Danny Ings. That's like saying, okay, well, if we had, I don't know, Aguero, would be higher up the league? Yeah, of course.
No, because Ings was someone Palace could have signed if they went for him, I think. I think it was an achievable transfer. But they'd be a lot more comfortable this season. The reason I think they could slide down there is I just don't see them having a goal scorer. I know Zaha is one, but Jordan Ayew is not that man that's going to get you goals. Okay then, if Crystal Palace had Pookie, I think they'd do alright this season. I think they'd be safe. But they don't have a goal scorer, and that's what worries me if I was a Palace fan. I'd be looking, thinking, Benteke and Ayew ain't scoring. They're not getting, well, they do get some goals, but it's not enough. I think they need a proper out and out. Well, they are proper out and out strikers, but I just don't think they have the, what's the word, confidence, form, because they've obviously got the ability, but Benteke clearly has ability. It's just gone for whatever reason. What do you think about the keeper? The reason I ask you is because we've been very sporadically linked to him earlier today for a summer move to long-term replace Fabianski. Bit of an unsung hero this season, I think.
Which one specifically? Because obviously I've been out today, as you know, so I don't know.
I do not know how you pronounce his name. Is it Gaeta? Gaeta?
Right, okay.
The blonde one.
He's alright. I don't see him being anything more than that. I don't look at him and he doesn't fill me with mad confidence. To be honest with you, it's one of those situations where I don't know where David Martin lies yet. I think I have a rough idea of what I think about him, but I've not fully formed it. Like, obviously, I have a fully formed opinion of Fabianski and have a fully formed opinion of Roberto. If it was a situation where it was he's coming in to replace Roberto, then obviously I'd be like, yes, come in. But I don't know whether I would prefer to play him ahead of David Martin yet at this stage. So, I don't know. He's good, but, like, I just haven't fully figured out. No, I know. Listen, I understand that. But what I mean is, like, how do I word it? But do you remember when Darren Randolph came in? I really didn't like Darren Randolph. There was a really long period where I didn't like Darren Randolph. And then over time, it got to the stage where I was actually he's probably equal to Adrian. I really liked him. I wanted him to start games. And I feel like I'm there with David Martin, and I'm sort of too tentative to say anything about it yet.
Nah, this Palace keeper, I know you spell it, Guaita or something similar to that. He's superb. Whenever I watched him for Crystal Palace, I think he's been brilliant. I think he's really impressed me this season. I think he's one of their not Palace's unsung hero. Palace fans are perfectly aware of how good he is. Anyone that doesn't support Palace, I think he doesn't get enough credit. From what I've seen from him, he's really, really comfortable in that goal. Really impressed me. And if we were to go after him long term to replace Fabianski, I'd be well up for it. I do think he's good enough to... Well, he's Palace's number one, obviously. I do think he'd be good enough to replace Fabianski long term. But West Ham time. Before we go, actually now we're just going to West Ham straight away. The team news, the keeper news is the important stuff, and it's not very clear. Pellegrini is very much keeping his cards close to his chest on this one, and to misquote him, what he said roughly was that Martin and Fabianski are back in training, but neither are fit enough to play 2 games in 48 hours. Obviously, we play Palace on Thursday, followed by Leicester on Saturday. So what he's basically said is neither keeper will be playing both games. What he didn't say is neither keeper can't play any of the games. So whether he's hinting one will play one and one will play the other. But then he was asked about Roberto, and he basically said, I still trust Roberto, kind of thing. I have faith in Roberto's ability. How big... we're not going to make a prediction about the keeper, Charlie, but how big a deal is it that either Fabianski or Martin is fit enough to play on Thursday, sorry?
Huge. Mainly because despite the fact they don't have great firepower, I just don't trust Roberto in any sense. So one of them has to play, and if Fabianski comes in, then I genuinely can't see them scoring, if I'm being honest about it, barring some sort of worldie. And they have, obviously, players capable of worldies. it just scares me, the fact that we're being so iffy about both of them, to be honest with you. He did this previously and it worked in our favour, and it was like, oh, okay, we've actually done something different here. He was a bit cagey about what he did and that worked in our favour, but when it comes specifically to this, it terrifies me. It utterly terrifies me, the prospect that neither of them are fit, if I'm being honest.
I think it's massive. I think our whole game hinders on who's in goal, really. I think one option's fantastic, one option's good, and one option is fantastic for Crystal Palace. It really does worry me massively. This is just huge. I just think and I pray that one of them is fit enough to play against Palace and the other one's fit enough to play against Leicester. I know we said I'm not going to do predictions, but I do think that's what he's planning on doing. The good thing about Martin is he's West Ham through and through. That guy will be busting an ass to play on Thursday. He knows Fabianski's back. He knows Fabianski's the #1 keeper, and he knows he's got an extremely difficult task in his hand to keep that #1 shirt. He knows Fabianski walked back into the team, okay, but if he's got another game, another opportunity to get one up on Fabianski being out, it's Thursday, it's against Crystal Palace, I'm fitter than him, I've got to start, I've kept a clean sheet my last game. If he goes to Selhurst Park and puts in another good performance, another clean sheet, it makes it very difficult for Pellegrini, because yes, he will have to switch it for Leicester, but then come the Bournemouth game, Martin would have every right to say to Pellegrini, excuse me mate, I've had 3 clean sheets, I've done nothing wrong in my last 2 performances, I deserve to start. And it would be a very difficult thing for Pellegrini to have. What a pleasure would be to have a headache over which good keeper to play rather than must we play the crap one. The other change that's forced upon West Ham is Ryan Fredericks picked up his 5th yellow card of the season against Southampton, which means he is suspended. And bad news, Ben Johnson started the last under-23s game but went off after 15 minutes. Now, we've not really heard that he's injured, but I think it's safe to assume he is perhaps injured, and Zabaleta would have probably started anyway. But apart from that one change, Charlie, the forced one at right back, is there any other changes you would make to the side that started against Southampton?
Probably not. Just trying to think it through in my head. Did Snodgrass started at right mid, didn't he?
Yeah, it was Snodgrass, then Rice, Snowball in the middle, Fornals at left, and then he had Aller and Antonio sort of up front. The only one player that's really in contention, I think, would be, well, there's 2, I suppose. Diop, if you want to mix it up at the back, and then you've got Felipe Anderson back from illness, of course.
Yeah, no, I would keep it the same then. I think the centre backs haven't really done anything wrong to get dropped, and I don't think Diop was in such scintillating form before he went away that he should deserve to walk straight back into a team. And I think keeping him out at this stage and previously is the right thing to do. And with Anderson, whatever the reason was, he wasn't in the last game. I think it's incredibly important that the right-hand side is the same, because although I think Zabaleta needs as much protecting as possible and Snodgrass is about as fast as I am, at least I know he'll work hard to get back. And then on the left, I feel like Fornals has been so good we can't drop him, to be honest with you. So I think we just keep it the same. That's my opinion.
I would keep it the same as well. I think Aller did a sort of underappreciated role at Southampton in the sense that I know it was 4-4-2 rule of thumb, but I think when we didn't have the ball, I think it sort of turned into like a 4-4-1-1. Now, I hate saying that. I hate when people sort of really break it down into fine detail. But it was that. I thought Aller occupied space when we didn't have possession and left Antonio doing the press, and he sort of dropped in and said, if you want to give it to your centre midfield, good luck, because I'm going to stand here just in the way. And we need to do that. If we're going to stick with the same team, we need to do that against Palace. Palace's one advantage, if we stick, is that they've got 3 centre midfielders, we've only got 2. They will have their captain, Kiate and MacArthur in there, and that gives them the extra body. So if they use it correctly, and against Brighton at times, Brighton were stretched in the middle. They only had Proper and Basuma in there, and they had to be quite clever with their fouling a little bit, and in the end Proper ended up taking a yellow card and stuff. That's their advantage. But I do think we can overcome that. I would keep it the exact same as well. The only problem is squad rotation is going to play a big part over the next few days, Charlie, because obviously we've got Leicester 2 days later, then Bournemouth on New Year's Day. There's some sort of, I think, reasonable doubts over if Snodgrass and Mark Noble can continue to play this much games in such a short period of time. Zabaleta you'd include in that, but you'd expect Fredericks to be fresh for Leicester. Antonio's obviously just come back from a lengthy injury as well. Is there concerns for you over too much game time or rotation, if you like, or is that something to worry about? Get the result of Palace and worry about it against Leicester.
Yeah, I mean, but in the same sense that I'm constantly worried about the state of our squad, in sense, because every time one person seems to get injured, it throws everything off. Yeah, Snodgrass I have concerns about, but then at that point we have Anderson ready to step in, be it on that side or the other side or whatever happens, at least we have a ready-made replacement there. And the same thing with Antonio, as much as he has just come back from injury. I remember saying this to you on the boat, it's that first game he played back, whichever one it was. He can't play because he still is like on the verge of being injured, but he can't not. He just has to play. And if we get a result here, then that makes starting him on the bench or something else in the next game a lot easier. Whereas if we lose here, then all of a sudden he also has to play the next game, and that becomes vital as well. I think he just has to play, and that's coming from someone, as you're well aware, who doesn't like him. So like he just has to. It's utterly vital. I don't want to see us change the system. I don't want to see us change the personnel. We have to almost take it a game at a time at this specific point in time to just start building momentum back up again. We've got 2 wins in the last 4, whatever it is. I think a third one would do us the world of good.
Yeah, I think we concentrate on this one first. If we do leave the rotation for the Leicester game, if anything, but if we win, it massively takes pressure off Leicester. You can rest 3 or 4, and I don't want to say accept a defeat, but a draw at home to Leicester would be considered a good result given the circumstances of both clubs at the minute. But if we lose against Crystal Palace, all of a sudden Leicester's like a must-win. We cannot drop points at home to Leicester, and squad rotation becomes sort of like not something you can consider a little bit. You need to play your first team, otherwise you're possibly in trouble. So it's a strange one. Pellegrini's got to do something here, but we have an advantage here because we didn't play at the weekend, and Crystal Palace did. You know, we've had that rest because of our game being postponed against Liverpool. We've had extra time to prepare. I do think in terms of fatigue and fitness and preparation, we've got no excuses. I think Crystal Palace might have one after the game, but we do not have any excuses. We've got an advantage on this one. Are you confident, Mr. Walsh?
Yeah, I kind of am, actually, somehow. Not brimming with it by any stretch of the imagination, but I look at Palace and I think, like you say, their last month or so hasn't been great. They've not really been putting the sort of form together they were previously. We've obviously just figured out the formation, or at least the man who's important has just figured out the formation, at least. I am a little bit, like you say, they're very toothless up front. When we come into games where they at least play well, the opposition, then I'm sort of terrified. For this one, I'm not scared of them, and despite the fact I think they might be capable of stopping us, especially if we change formation, I'm not scared of their attack at all, really. So yeah, I am sort of quietly confident, and it is very quiet at this point, meekly confident.
I was hoping you'd be a bit less confident than I am, because I'm quite confident as well. But it hinders on our keeper massively. This is assuming Roberto's not in goal. I don't fear their attack too much either. I think from what I've seen recently from them, they're a bit lightweight up front, and I think we've stripped it back to basics recently. Starting at Chelsea, it's almost like Pellegrini's a light bulb's finally come on, and he thought, you know what, if we set up to not concede, there's a good chance we won't lose the game. And it worked at Chelsea, worked at Southampton, it worked against Arsenal for an hour. It didn't work against Wolves at all, but out of 4 games, it's worked for 2.5 of them. So I think, again, we'll go to Palace thinking we don't concede, we've got a damn good chance of winning this one, and we can't lose it. And I think if we set up defensively solid, stay organised like we have, I think we'll keep them out. And if we can keep them out, then, you know, I fancy us. I fancy our attack as well. They've got a very makeshift defence in their last game. I don't know if Van Aanholt's back for this, but they've got a left back who he started against Brighton. He hadn't played for about 2 years or something before he started that game. I don't know who they played against Burnley, but they got beat away to Burnley. That's a disappointing result for Palace. That's the type of game they tend to go and get points from. So yeah, strange reason. I'm pretty confident. And the worry is obviously Zabaleta at right back as well, up against Zaha. But I think I'm imagining this, but I'm sure 2 years ago, it might have been 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago or something, we played Palace, and Zabaleta managed perfectly fine against Zaha, and there was all that jokes about Zabaleta's got Zaha in his pockets, he's emptied out his phone, his chewing gum. Zabaleta caught, because I often don't see Zaha as a player that he's not as direct, in my opinion, as Traore or St. Maximin or Antonio. He's not as direct as those. He's quite tricky, and he's damn good. But I think he prefers to cut in, and that would suit Zabaleta if he just tries to cut in all the time, because Zabaleta is a good defender. He's just not fast anymore, but he's still switched on. He's still got what it takes and stuff up here. And I'm hoping we're going to be pleasantly surprised, actually. I'm hoping that we're sitting here Thursday buzzing and handing Zabaleta a man a match. Anyway, before we do our final predictions and our final thoughts, I've got a couple of things to get through. First of all, our try to bet with Betway. I've gone for a big one, Charlie. I've gone for a bit of a whopper. It's Boxing Day. Let's get in this. Some of us can get in the Christmas spirit. I tried, alright? That was as enthusiastic. I nearly did it. I caught there. It's because it was about betting. I got a bit enthusiastic about that. Anyway, 33-1. Betway put 50 quid on this. West Ham to win without conceding. Antonio to score. It's coming. It's due. Zabaleta to be booked, and 3 cars or more in the game. If you want that bet, it's 33-1 with Betway. Just go to betway.com, click on the West Ham game, click on Bet Your Way, and scroll down for the Hammers Chat bet, and you can get there. 50 quid on for them. And also, we've got 2 videos coming up in the next 2 days. Despite being Christmas, we are not easing off. So the first one we've got is coming up tomorrow night. It's the tier list. West Ham squad tier list ranked. Myself and Gonzo went through every player in the West Ham, put them in one of these 4 categories on your screen right now: key player, important player, squad player, or not for me. So a bit different for us, so hope you enjoy it. That's out tomorrow night. Then on Christmas Day, we've got this coming up. It's me. It's pretty good. I'll be going live on Christmas Day. I don't know what time or how long for yet, so stay tuned. I'll put up as much notice as possible, but feel free to come along on Christmas Day if you get a chance and you're around at that time. Come live for a little chat. I'm going to discuss a few things with people as well, just for something different for people on Christmas Day. Now, with all that said and done, Charlie, may I get your final words and your score prediction for the game, please?
Yeah, if you do want a little bit of negativity in that sense, like you say, Zabaleta is the player he was.
Whoa, not negativity. Realism.
Okay. Zabaleta isn't the player he was 18 months ago, let alone 2 years ago. Zaha is very capable of pulling something out of nowhere. And if he does pull out something out of nowhere and they go ahead, I'm a bit concerned about that, because they are very organised despite their makeshift defence. But I can't shake that confidence. It's like I said, it is quiet. It's very meek, but I do think that there's something there. I'm going to say 2-0 West Ham.
I don't think this is going to be a high-scoring game. I think both teams will be quite cagey. I think both teams will be thinking clean sheet first, score second. I wouldn't be surprised if this is 0-0, to be honest with you, Charlie. I would not be surprised at all. You know how Amazon Prime have got every game on Boxing Day, don't they? If I was a neutral, I would not be picking a Crystal Palace West Ham game. I would not be thinking, oh yeah, smells like goals over there. That is not what you're smelling. Don't tune into this one. But I'm going to go for 1-0 West Ham, actually. I'm feeling it. Antonio, cheeky little 1-0. Our third win, 1-0 out of 5 games. I can just see it. But anyway, you guys at home, let us know what you think. Drop it in the comments below. I'll be having a little look when I do my Christmas Day video. I'll be having a look at the comments and seeing if you guys have got as much mild optimism as myself and Charlie. If you've enjoyed this video, drop a like on it. It does help the channel out. Subscribe if you're around here. And tomorrow night we're back. Not live, but it's back. And I'll be live on Christmas Day. Myself and Gonz will be live on Boxing Day with a review. Catch you in a bit. I suppose one last thing to say really, eh, Charlie? Thank you for joining us this year. I hope everybody has a really good Christmas. It's not for me, but all you guys that do enjoy Christmas, I genuinely hope you have a good one. I speak on behalf of Charlie, Gonzo, and all the rest of the team at Hammers Chat. Hope it's a fantastic day. Enjoy yourselves, look after yourselves, and we'll catch you in a bit.